We had the opportunity to interview Jane Hasik, who was a USA citizen living in the Czech Republic. This small European country is located between Germany, Spain, Poland, and Slovakia. Its capital, Prague, has beautiful infrastructure of notable castles and Gothic churches, and the Czech are very prideful of their language. The country is surrounded by mountains and forestry that provides its people with both the concrete jungles of their cities while also providing spaces to interact with nature.
So I guess we wanted to see how the culture influences your family. So I guess just start by telling us a bit about your family,
Yeah? Okay. So we are a mixed family. My husband is Czech.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the States. And he has a lot of experience with American culture. So when I met him, his English was already pretty good.
Okay.
We have different ideas about his English level, but he knew, we both knew that our life and our future would be here. He never had any interest in moving to America, and I really had the type of personality where location doesn't really matter.
Right.
At least when I was 24 or 22, that's what I thought.
Sure.
But at the time, I had no idea what that would mean 13 years down the road. But I was just up for the adventure, and I thought, yeah, Europe is a great place to live, and I like the quality of life. It's an adventure. There's castles everywhere. I'll just give it a try. I think the biggest thing that we took very seriously after I moved here was that we would just take the things that I loved from my culture and the things that we love here and kind of mix them together and create our own little family culture. And we knew we would be really weird to Americans and we would be a little bit weird to Czechs, but we just kind of make our own little mix. And the girls we have 2 daughters, and they're just kind of our experiment to see how that would all turn out. And
yeah.
They're 9 and 7, and I don't think we've screwed too much up yet.
What did you want to take from your culture to teach to your daughters?
Well, one of the things, there's a lot of things, but one very tangible thing that people notice immediately when they meet us or come into our home is just how much we love having people in our house. And, I mean, in any given week, we probably feed 20 people.
Wow.
I don't know if that's typical American, but
I don't feed 20 people.
Not typical Czech. Like in Czech Republic, people really don't gather in homes or invite people in. They stay very to themselves, or they meet out in parks or pubs or restaurants.
Sure.
But I think for me, maybe because I'm so far away from family, I just love that feeling of like a big, I don't come from I just have one brother. It's not like I have 10 brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that was just really important to me. And then another thing is, this is a gross generalization, not of all Czech people, but it's really easy to be very, very negative here and to have the no mentality of this person's different, or no, that's a bad idea. I don't think that's going to work. Oh, I don't fully trust this person. There's a very big, cynical, negative attitude here. Yeah, during communism, people wouldn't let people in because everyone was always suspicious of people. So it wasn't. And Martin is not typical Czech. He's very, I don't know if it's after being married to me for so long or just in who he is, but that was one thing that we really fight to be not closed.
You were talking about how you bring people over your house because you miss family. What's it been like having your family far away?
Man, it's the worst part of this whole experiment because there's nothing you can do to get the time back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the babies, the weddings, I mean, all of our cousins, everyone's getting married.
Yeah.
I missed all those weddings. And it's those kind of life events that I really, really miss. But fortunately, my parents, I mean, they come over all the time.
Yeah.
For like 5 and 6 weeks at a time. So I'm if that wasn't the case, that's really helped with my longevity here.
Yeah.
Feeling connected. And I've been able, it forced me to get to know Martin's family a lot more and to need them in different ways.
Mm-hmm. And
to make a community here.
Can your daughter speak English and Czech?
Yeah, they are bilingual. Czech is definitely their mother tongue.
I'm sure, yeah.
They go to Czech schools and they speak Czech most of the day. So it's been a real interesting process to have children that come from your own body sitting at your dinner table speaking a different language. Sometimes I'm really cool with it. And sometimes I get really sad and frustrated. And I'm like, to feel that disconnect from my own children is really a bizarre thing that I didn't anticipate. But I always understand what they're saying in Czech. It's not that I'm left out, and I can participate in the conversation, no problem. It's just that the intimacy of the home, it's like, no, I want it to be my own heart language. Somebody is always speaking their second language every point in time. And that's a hard reality, I think. Martin's English is like super 100 times better than my Czech. So he really can. When I moved here, he very graciously said that since I'm leaving my culture, he will give up his language. So he never made me feel like I have to learn Czech, or if I'm not progressing, he won't love me any more or less.
Okay, so then the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was like your role in the family.
I actually was just talking about this with a friend, that I have a friend who the wife is Czech and the husband is American. And I honestly think that is way harder to do in terms of role reversal, because Martin can be the 100% the man role. He understands everything. He can be in charge. We're doing major construction in our house. He can figure everything out, talk with all the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just kind of go with the flow. Or if something breaks in the house, he can call the plumber and get it fixed. Or he can figure out the banking and the visa and the schools and everything. And so I can kind of do the more traditional female roles of just taking care of the home and things like that. However, we have one other dynamic in our home. Martin has been sick for the last 5.5 years. And so because of that, I have had to take on a lot of the healthy parent, caregiver, father, and mother roles. So it's been really a confusing time, but I don't know if it's because of the culture mix or just this season of our life.
Sure.
So I work full time. I work a couple jobs, and I'm a mom, and I'm getting my master's degree. So I'm doing a lot because he, although he's in remission, he's able to be home and do a lot of the mom stuff, like take the girls to school, which is great. When he's sick, I have to just do it all. So that's been hard doing that in a second culture. But I feel very, I guess proud is the word, that like I did it in Czech language, and
Yeah.
I mean, we survived. I don't know how gracefully, but everyone's fed and have a roof over our head.
Yeah.
But I do feel limited into what I can do, because I live here. So, that's kind of been a frustrating thing. Like, there's this glass ceiling that I can't just, I don't know if I have any unfulfilled dreams that I'm not reaching because I live here. I don't know if that's the case, but like, I teach English. I didn't dream about being an English teacher. I feel like kind of silly that my skill comes from I just happened to be born in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And so here I'm able to make a living because I'm a native English speaker, not because of any like talent or gifting. I just happen to speak English. I mean, I love teaching. I think I can teach. But if I was in America, I don't know what I would do.
So I was thinking about, you said Martin can do all that stuff, and you know this other family with this where the husband is American, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the wife couldn't call, or it would be different for her to call and to take care of all the stuff that you're saying Martin takes care of?
Yeah, I think she has no problem with it. She's very capable. She's kind of that kind of personality. Mm-hmm. But I think for him, it's kind of demasculating. That's the word.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
To like have to say, honey, can you get the car fixed?
Overall, did you notice, is there any giant gender differences in the Czech Republic?
There's not as many stay-at-home moms after the age of 4.
Really?
So there's a good maternity leave system where moms can stay home until the child is 4 years old, but then all the moms go to work. So that's very different here. I don't know the only moms that I know that stay home here in Czech are a handful of American moms whose husbands have great, great jobs. And so I'd say in the States that happens more. Like there are more stay-at-home moms.
I kind of want to follow up on that. Like, so are you saying like the Czech Republic is very patriarchal? Like, is it very like a 90-10%, you know? Because I feel like the U.S. is kind of going away from that, but do you feel like the Czech Republic is still in that space?
Do you mean patriarchal in the sense that like the man is the lion and the breadwinner and the decision maker?
Yes.
I would say that it's kind of like I'm just thinking of Martin's family and a few the families that we're close to. I see that it's not so much the father is the decision maker. It's more of like he goes to work, comes home, and the mom absolutely organizes and manipulates everything. But I think at the end of the day, maybe it is still patriarchal in the sense that they would follow, the father would have the last word in that. I do see a lot of divorce It's very, very common here. And also a lot of people who don't get married and who cohabitate or live together. So that tells me that I think women are kind of getting sick of that.
You talked about how, like, since people don't like to be within, don't like to bring people into their homes, and they would rather be going outside. So, like, what places or, like, what spaces would you say your family would go to? I mean, you said you stay in the home, so I don't even know how.
We do go outside.
Okay. So, like, what spaces would you say, for you as an American and now pseudo Czech, would you say you go to distress, or like for your family to distress?
Well, one of the things I love about Czech culture, this is something we definitely try to take in from and mix into our family culture, is that every chance they have to go be in nature, they take. And Prague as a city, it's really small and it ends. There's not miles and miles of suburbs. So we live in the city, but in 10 minutes we can get to beautiful countryside and hills and hiking trails and bike trails and climbing areas and castles. And so really, any nice day, every Friday, there's a mass exodus out of the city. And I love that about Czech. There's every little corner of Prague, there are beautiful trails and biking and hiking. It's really fun. But also there's a wonderful, wonderful cafe culture here.
Oh, yeah.
Which I really enjoy. I love really good coffee. So I love to go to cafes. And then the other place that people go to are, they play a lot of sports. So, I mean, hockey games, professional sports are cheap here, which is really fun. So they go nuts over soccer and hockey and all those things. And for $10, you can see world-class hockey, which is really fun.
Yeah. Overall, would you say, like, your family's a typical, you kind of talked about that too, but would you say, like, it's a typical type of family? Or at least it's trying to get to the average Czech family? Or you would say, like, are we trying to create our own type of definition of family?
I think we really try to create our own. Unfortunately, one thing that's really frustrating, and I didn't anticipate this, is we have a lot of Czech families who are close to us. I feel like one thing that separates us, this is going to sound so stupid, but is our American stuff. Like, they come into our house, and I'm using a Mac computer, and my daughters do have some cool things from my parents. And we have things from Ari. Like, nothing fancy or extravagant, but it just is cheaper in America. And we fill up our suitcases when we go. It's stuff that I like and enjoy. So there's even things as materialistic as that. I feel like it just separates us a little tiny bit. I will say that it will be very interesting, I think, in the next couple of years to see more clearly how my daughters identify themselves. They have to take English class with their peers, and that's funny because they don't need it. And so one of them enjoys it. She loves having that one easy class. And then the other one, she complains, "Oh, I have English today. It's so boring." Da, 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 da. So I'll have to figure out something to do with that. And but I think so far they seem to be pretty happy and well adjusted, and
Talking about your daughters and like all the things that you're realizing they might have to go through and accomplish between like just knowing that they're, they're Czech or like also like American. What values would you say you would like to instill in them?
As far as culture, I really want them to see who they are as a gift, that they have these two languages, and that it isn't something that is a burden or like a heaviness or something to be embarrassed by, but that they don't have to sit through hours of English class or Czech class.
Yeah.
They can just open their mouth and say it. It's very frustrating to me.
Yeah.
There's one expression in here too that, because most Czechs speak more than one language, and that however many languages you know, that's how many lives you live.
Mm-hmm. True.
And so that value I love. Oh, one thing of American culture we talk about too is generosity and giving. Maybe that has to do with the open door thing as well, but Czechs don't support things or give. So that feels weird to me that they wouldn't. You would give anything to your family or to someone in your immediate circle without thinking twice, but to a stranger or to charities, it's like there's they assume they're being scammed.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would want my daughters to not see.
As you were growing up, did you have any like rules like within the family or with as you started dating that you think you are doing differently or would do differently with your daughters?
In terms of dating, it's hard to think down the line. I had a lot of freedom as a child, so I feel like my parents really let me kind of, I had my own space. I don't think they ever asked me to clean my room. I had a phone in my room, even though it wasn't a cordless. I had to, but I could talk on it all night long. And I don't know if it's typical Czech, but I know here, I think maybe because it's a smaller living space, I feel like today, in 2017, my girls do not have that kind of freedom at all. Even their desk, we use their desk for several other things. So, like, they have to keep everything very much in order. That's hard for me because I didn't have that growing up, and I'm not that kind of personality. I like to have at least a couple junk drawers. But here we don't have the space for that. So I think Martin would say that that's cultural, not only a space thing. But in Czech, you care for your things differently than Americans do. So we push our girls to do that. I think I would say in the States, I had a much bigger friend circle than I envision my girls having here. Here, there's really, you have one or two best friends, and they stick with you. Like I said, through the class, they're one of the 30 people. But I remember having my whole softball team were my best friends, and then the whole basketball team were my best friends. And then the people that they dated were my best friends. So it just was a lot more fluid relationally than I see students doing here, which I think is a difference. I would be glad for them to have a ton more less intense friendships.
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
is that something that you
But we'll-
encourage them to do, or do you just kind of let them do their thing?
I let them do their thing in school.
Mm-hmm.
I have, unfortunately, they have to be friends with my friends' kids.
Yeah.
So, and so right now, I think they have, it seems like they have a lot of friends, but that's because I want to see my friends, so kind of make it all happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long they'll play along with that.
All right.
I
yeah.
imagine pretty soon they'll want to just do their own thing.
Mm-hmm. What made you and your husband want to stay in Czech Republic rather than moving to the U.S. or somewhere else?
Yeah. He's originally from Prague,
Mhm.
and there is a stereotype that he fits perfectly of a person who thinks that Prague is the center of the world. Why would you ever want to live anywhere else? And so he really, I honestly think he can't imagine living anywhere else. I can't even picture him living anywhere else. We were a part of a Christian youth organization here for several years before I switched to teaching. And I think we both had the feeling there are so few Czechs doing that here. In America, there's tons of people doing all kinds of faith-oriented things. But here, in such an atheistic country, there really aren't. There are a lot of Americans doing it here, different missionaries who come, but very few Czechs doing it within their own culture. And so when I was even falling in love with him, I remember thinking, I never want to take him from here. It just doesn't make so much sense.
Okay, so what is some advice that you would give to somebody who moves to a new culture?
One piece of advice I would give is don't make hard rules for yourself and give yourself a lot of grace to make mistakes and to change your mind. I've experienced and I've seen other people as well come in and say, I'm going to do it this way. My children are going to graduate from Czech school, or I am going to learn the Czech language in 2 years. And honestly, those always end up hurting you. And because I don't think we're ever meant to have to make such harsh decisions other than like who you marry, maybe not even that. I don't know. I just feel like to give yourself the freedom to say, okay, this isn't working for me. Czech schools are really difficult. Maybe I'll take them out and try an American school. Or, all right, I didn't learn Czech in 2 years. I'm not a failure.
Mm-hmm.
I am an intelligent human being and can express myself in a language.
Mm-hmm.
So I think drawing really, really hard lines for yourself can be very difficult. And finding places where life is easy, even if the area you live in is hard. So whether it's friends or community, or if it's, even if it is Netflix for a little bit every night or something, someplace where your mind can, relax a little bit. Yeah. And find ways that you can be fully yourself in a different culture. And so a lot of times it's discovering that because it may be different than it was in your first culture.
Mm-hmm.